Most people don't realize they've stopped living. They think they're just busy. They think tomorrow will finally be the day everything changes. But here's what science quietly discovered about the human mind, and it might be the most unsettling thing you hear all week.
There was a man named Arthur. He was 43 years old, worked the same job for 19 years, drove the same route every morning, ordered the same lunch, sat in the same chair every evening. He wasn't unhappy. He wasn't in crisis. He was just waiting. For what, he couldn't say. He assumed life was something that happened later. That was his mistake.
Researchers studying human behavior found that a significant portion of adults operate on what they call automatic pilot mode, a state where daily routines become so embedded that the brain essentially stops registering them as real experiences. You're moving, but you're not present. You're alive, but not living. Arthur was the perfect example of this invisible trap.
Here's what's fascinating. Neuroscientists discovered that the brain processes novel experiences very differently from repeated ones. When you do something new, travel somewhere unfamiliar, learn a skill, have a real conversation, the brain forms dense, rich memory networks. Time feels full. But when every day looks identical, the brain compresses those days into almost nothing. A decade can feel like a single long Tuesday.
This is why older people often say life moves faster as you age. It's not a mystery. It's a direct result of choosing comfort over curiosity. The brain stops collecting memories when nothing surprises it. And without memories, time doesn't just pass, it disappears. Arthur turned 50 without feeling like anything had changed since his 30s, and in a way, nothing had. He had been physically present for 17 years, but mentally absent for most of them. That realization hit him not during some dramatic moment, but on a random Wednesday morning when he couldn't remember a single thing about the previous month. Anthropologists who study indigenous cultures around the world have noticed something striking. Societies that maintain rituals of transformation, moments that mark a clear before and after in a person's life, tend to produce individuals with stronger senses of identity and purpose. They don't wait for life to happen. They build it deliberately, season by season. In contrast, modern life has quietly removed most of those transitions. We graduate, we work, we retire, and somewhere in the middle, we forget to actually inhabit the years between. We traded ceremony for convenience and didn't notice what we lost until we looked back and found the years strangely empty. Arthur started small. He drove a different road to work one morning. Not because it was faster, it wasn't, but because his therapist had told him that the brain responds to even tiny disruptions in routine with increased alertness, heightened attention, and something close to genuine presence. It sounds almost too simple to matter. It isn't. Within weeks, he noticed something shifting. Not dramatically, not in a movie moment kind of way, but the days started feeling longer again, in the best possible sense. He remembered them. A conversation with a stranger at a gas station, the color of the sky on a cold Tuesday, the way coffee tasted when he actually sat down to drink it instead of carrying it to his car, the texture of a life fully noticed. Psychologists have studied what they call the end-of-life review, the mental process where people, near death, look back and evaluate whether their lives felt meaningful. The most common regret wasn't about failure. It wasn't about money or status. It was about waiting. Waiting to be happier. Waiting to be ready. Waiting for a version of themselves that never quite arrived because they never decided to become it. The people who described their lives as deeply meaningful shared a common pattern. They had, at some point, made a conscious decision to stop postponing. Not a grand gesture, not a reinvention, just a quiet but firm choice to be present in the life they already had, while slowly building the life they actually wanted.
Arthur didn't quit his job or move to another country. He didn't need to. He started calling his brother more often. He planted something in his backyard. He picked up a book he had been putting off for 11 years. He started noticing the world around him with the kind of attention he used to save for vacations.
And here's the part that stays with you. In one study, participants were asked to describe the best year of their life. Almost universally, they described a year that was challenging, uncertain, and full of new demands. Not the easy years, not the comfortable years, the years that forced them to grow, to pay attention, to show up. Ease, it turns out, is not the same as happiness. Comfort is not the same as meaning.
Arthur is 61 now. He doesn't describe himself as a changed man. He describes himself as an awake one. The difference, he says, is that he stopped treating his life like a waiting room. He stopped assuming the real part was just around the corner. The most profound human insight might be this: the life you're waiting to start is already happening. It has been happening the whole time. The only question that ever really mattered is whether you'll be there for it. Time doesn't wait for readiness, it just moves. And the people who look back with the fewest regrets are not the ones who did the most. They're the ones who were present for what they had, and brave enough to want more of it while they still could.